I've talked previously about outlining versus winging it, which they tend to call pantsing. Terrible word, but I guess they mean kind of writing by the seat of your pants every day, just sort of turning on the computer and then just mushing forward, basically. And I kind of gave my opinion on that in terms of writing ebooks, writing Kindle genre fiction, which is what I'm trying to write. And it's essentially pulp fiction, no matter what we call it. It's written fast, and it's the story is the thing. We're trying to tell a story, we're trying to feed the reader, and trying to keep it moving, and trying to add more books on. And it's not anything they're ever going to study in an English literature class, at least in my as far as my works go. And for that purpose, it's tough to be strictly a musher, a non-outliner. And I think I've concluded that I try to have at least some idea every day what I'm writing. I don't do an outline, do a physical outline. Have a few notes, maybe a few plot points I'm going to think about, but I try to have a little bit of an idea before I sit down and write where the story's going that day. But the better way to do it, in my opinion, if you're not worried about time and you're not worried about trying to be in the ebook rat race and all that kind of stuff, you're not you're not worried if the novel takes a little longer to produce, is to not plan anything out. Just sit down every day and sort of say, okay, what would happen today? What would logically happen today? It's more fun. And I've read writers talking about that, how they are surprised and they are actually sort of along for the ride. It's almost like they're watching a movie and their fingers are on the keyboard, but they're watching a movie to find out what's going to happen. And again, I keep talking about Donald Westlake's classic novel, The Hook. And in that one of the characters, it's kind of two sleazy characters get together, and one guy makes a proposition to the other guy to kill off his wife, and the first guy completely thinks that there's no way that he can go through with that, but he starts thinking about it, and then he gets to the point where it might happen. And I think somebody asked Westlake in an interview, what did you plan? And Westlake said, I planned to find out myself what would happen, and it really depended on how she presented herself. In other words, he meets her at a play and introduces himself and so forth, and they go out for a bite to eat, maybe go home, and if she's not a pleasant person, then maybe he'll go through with it. And if she is pleasant, and you can't, the Westlake can't see her not being around the rest of the story, then the guy won't go through with it, and the plot will evolve differently. That's how he looked at it. He looks at it like he's looking at real people doing real things. I thought that was a little bit of an exaggeration. I've heard Elmore Leonard talk about that, Stephen King as well. Stephen King would tend to call the outliners the dullards. So this is the dullards outline. So for whatever that's worth. And I have to give Stephen King credit. He does an outline, but he still puts out two massive novels a year, and he's been doing it for about 30 years. So whatever, non-outlining certainly works for Stephen King. But the bottom line is, I thought these people were exaggerating it slightly. And then I wrote my own first novel. At first I called it What Can You Do? But it finally changed to Who Needs Justice, which is the first novel of the Chris Seeley Vigilante Justice series. And I wrote that thing, and lo and behold, about a third of the way through, that exact phenomenon started to happen, where I'd get to the keyboard in the morning, get up, cup of coffee, whatever, take a shower, get to the computer, and then I couldn't wait, actually, at a certain point to find out what was going to happen. I'm typing, but I want to find out what's going to happen. Not that unlike, reading somebody else's finished novel or watching a TV show or movie. It's a crazy thing, but it does actually happen. And so I'd recommend that. And this might tie in a little bit with the previous video on great opening lines from Elmore Leonard. If you come up with a great opening line, take your time, work hard on that line, but come up with it. Even if you really have no idea who the character is where it's going, where he even lives, if you haven't mentioned any place, how old he is, anything. You might have no idea about anything other than some guy got stopped for a taillight going out at an intersection at 2 in the morning. Something like that. And you have no idea who any of the people are. But if you try that, I guarantee at some point, if you just plow forward and don't write, don't make notes, don't outline, just sit down every day. Okay, what would happen today? What might happen? What would the guy do? What problems might occur? Um, Etc. Just let it flow. That then you will also have that same experience. We're not going to call it like a transcendental experience or something like that, but it's fun. It's actually a lot of fun. And then you get to the point where you actually wake up early because you want to get to the keyboard. You're excited to find out more. It's like you want to, you're in the middle of a good novel that you're reading, and you want to, start early and finish and find out what the heck's going to happen here. Okay.